Hidden Object Guru here with another reaction to a very bad Squid Game take. Now, technically I don't know that it's a very bad take yet because I haven't watched the video, but I'm familiar with this YouTuber, Alex Meyers' work, because I've watched all of their videos about Riverdale, which are very entertaining. And let's just say that the idea that they think Squid Game is dumb and deserve to be talked about in the same way they talk about, like, just here in the sidebar I can see Chamber of Secrets. I know they covered lots of Netflix teenager movies. I'm sure they covered the new He's All That, or maybe they didn't. Just seems on brand for the channel. And the channel's very funny, and I've liked the videos I've seen from it, but when you title Squid Game is kind of dumb, again, it's possible that this is an entirely satirical article. Did I say article? Video. Video, and I'm gonna look like a fool for criticizing it. But I guess we'll find out by watching it. I mean, the last one that said player one did nothing wrong, I mean, might have been a joke. And that's the thing, right? I feel like we're stuck in CinemaSins territory, where even if this isn't a joke, some people might mistaken, even if this is intended as a joke, it's possible that some people will look at the criticism and think they're valid criticisms and get wrong opinions, which is why satire is dangerous. Satire is incredibly dangerous. If you would like proof of that, look at all the fight clubs that sprung up after the release of the movie Fight Club. It's hard to make satire that lands. I mean, what's that old Paul Verhoeven quote about Starship Troopers? I literally put Doogie Howser in a Nazi uniform. How did people not get that they were the bad guys? All right, let's do it. Let's see what Alex Meyers has to say about Squid Game.
The show literally everyone's still talking about. I mean, it came out on Netflix like a month or so ago, and you know who's been shutting up about it? Nobody.
Month or so ago? This went up November 9th. When did Squid Game come out? September? Okay.
I mean, look at how many YouTube videos there are about this show. You want to read hundreds of pages of expose, essay, deep dives about the, should I let my little Jalen, Balin, Kaylin watch the newfangled Squid Game kid show? It's like the biggest thing they ever was. At the beginning of 2021, the biggest thing ever was Bridgerton, the show about the struggles and hardships of being the only attractive redhead in all of London. And then now, some 10 months...
I haven't seen Bridgerton. Is it good? Oh, I'm watching this at double speed because if I watched it at the speed I normally watch it at, it would be, like, just a high-pitched whine. So, I've slowed it down considerably.
Months later, the biggest thing in the history of Netflix is a show about... Well, actually, Alex, I find me interject. You hear what you hear and kill about how capitalism and communism will both drive people to do all kinds of horrible actions to get... Now, I'll just come and say it.
Wait, what? So first off, nice that people like me made a cameo as jerks who want to explain to him why he's dumb. So, he has anticipated me making this video. Good on you, Alex Meyers, but I am going to slow it down so I can see what that guy's supposed to be saying. Alright, hold on.
Well, actually, Alex, if I may interject, the show we can hear and kill about how capitalism and communism will both drive people to do all kinds of horrible actions to get...
That's not what it's about. It's a show about how capitalism and communism will drive people to horrible acts. In the show, the only time communism is mentioned at all is because one of the characters is from North Korea, and they talk about how when they came to South Korea, we were supposed to end dehumanization and, be treated as real people and have opportunity. But that was a lie. Like, that was just a lie capitalists told. Like, the show doesn't, offer a rosy portrayal of communism, and I would not claim that it did, but you can't say that it's about communism in any significant way, because that is the tiniest iota of the show's content. Okay, so right off, he has set up a strawman character who thinks the show is about how communism is evil. The only person who thought the show was about how communism was evil was famously a Tim Pool video, and Tim Pool is famously the dumbest man on the internet. Well, that's not true. I mean, I'm sure he's not actually dumb. I'm sure he's just pretending to be dumb so that, very dumb people will give him money, but it was the dumbest take. Like, my Onam did nothing wrong video wasn't about the dumbest Squid Game take because then later I found out about the Tim Pool take, but everybody else covered his video, so I didn't feel a need to. Anyway, back to Alex Meyers and his ridiculous straw man.
Get it. Now, I'll just kind of say it, okay? I actually liked Squid Game. I know. I'm like so brave. But like, I've seen tons of discourse over the last month or so about how everyone's just trying to tell me what the show's really trying to say, man. And like, yeah, I enjoyed the show.
It is not hard to figure out. You don't need a lot of discourse to figure out what the show's trying to say. Capitalism's evil. The end.
Okay, it was fun to watch, sort of, kind of, whatever. But I gotta be
Also, it dehumanized. You know what? Let's get into it.
honest here. It's not that good. Not just gonna assume that.
Okay, well, all right. Again, this might be satire, and at the end he might say early April Fools. Squid Game is that good. It's basically perfect. Like, there's not one shot in the show that doesn't mean something and isn't perfectly chosen. It's as good a television show as I've ever seen. So let's keep going.
That if you had any interest in watching Squid Game at all, you would have already done so by this point. So I'm just gonna talk about whatever I want. Okay, no spoiler warnings. Only friendship warnings. Oh, so here we go.
Why Squid Game is kind of dumb.
Well, actually, the show was fine, but there's just some choices they made that were a little weird.
Well, okay, at least he admits he admits the title is hyperbolic. So hopefully Alex Meyers, I keep saying he, I don't know that, they are saying that the show is not kind of dumb, but just he doesn't understand some choices they made. So hopefully I can explain them to him. And also, he used a hyperbolic title, so when I call this video, Hogo reacts to Alex Meyers' unbelievably dumb Squid Game take, hopefully he will understand that it is similarly hyperbole like his own title. That's going to be the title now. Unless, of course, it turns out this was all an April Fool's joke.
Also, I realize I'm like the millionth person to make a video about this, so I'm probably not saying anything particularly original right now, but whatever, here we go. But before that, really quick, this video is brought to you by...
We're starting at the ending. I'm skipping the ad because privacy.com isn't paying me. I mean, you still got to see the ads, but still.
Privacy.com/Alex Meyers and sign up right now. Okay, back to the show.
He's starting with the ending. Daring choice.
So all throughout Squid Game, there's the central mystery about like what the games are, who's doing it.
That is not a central mystery about what the game... There is no mystery about what the games are and who's doing it. Rich people are doing it as entertainment. It is a game being played. It is human cockfighting for the entertainment of the rich. That is expressly demonstrated right from the start. There is no mystery. There is a twist, but there's no mystery. I mean, for the love of God, episodes before it's revealed that 001 was the villain, you just like, he's there talking and putting on a mask, and they distort his voice for the big reveal. But it's like, there's a reveal of who the villain was, but there's no mystery. The only part of it that is a mystery is the cop, but the mystery for him is he's trying to find his brother, and I think we all know his brother is the front man right from the start. Well, not from the start, but like, the minute he gets there, we're like, okay, well, it must be the front man.
Why they're doing it? Yeah, I got stuff.
Why? Why do you do it? How can you?
Oh, it's the dubbed version. Interesting. Why didn't you also put subtitles? You know what? I'm not here to criticize his editing. Their editing. Let's go.
You bet on horses. It's the same here, but we bet on humans.
And
so I went to explain what it is. And the show just says it. But again, that's clear right from the start. And really, he's not saying why. He's saying that question does not mean literally, why is this happening? The question is, how can you do this? And he's like, to us, humans are no different than horses. You're just animals here for our enjoyment.
after the main guy wins, which of course we all saw coming like 3 miles away, he goes back home to get back.
He thinks it's obvious that the main guy wins. When the guy's... Yes. The guy's number is 456, which is the dice roll in CeeLo that means you automatically win. Of course he was going to win. Anyway.
Back to his life as normal, except now he has a bank account with like $45 bajillion in it. I mean, come on, just think how many Zac Efron posters you can buy with that much money. Also, like, no word whatsoever from the government about, like... Back to his life as normal, except now he has a bank...
He doesn't have $45 bajillion. He has 45,600,000,000 won because he's player 456. It's a reference. Get it? He's the last player, and every player is worth 100,000 won. So he, because he's 456, has collected all the money from all the dead people. And it says 999 now because he just took the 10,000 won out of the bank the way he always does. You know, he's always asking people for $10. It's his thing. No, okay.
Got like $45 bajillion in it. I mean, God, just think of how many SAG Efron posters you could buy with that much money. So like no word whatsoever from the government about like where this money came from or how much taxes you have to pay now or anything. And I was just like, John, you've been unemployed for several years now. Yeah. And now you got $45 million. Yep. Huh, that's weird. Now the one part I really like.
Okay. Do you remember the part at the beginning of the game when he had to sign away his right to sue and basically his life and include all this information about himself? That essentially gave them the right to put money in his bank account as the winner of a lottery. Like, it's not explicitly stated in the game, but again, this is a game being run by the richest man in Korea. If he wants to get you 45 billion won tax-free, he can do that with no trouble at all. He's the richest man in Korea.
Liked about the ending as far as some kind of like emotional climax or whatever, is how like the whole point of him playing the games in the first place was mainly just to pay for his mom's medical bills, and then also so he could be or feel like he was a good dad.
His mom's medical bills were part of it, but the main reason he plays is not because he wants to accomplish a specific thing. It's because capitalism had left him a dead end, where the only thing left is failure, 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 death. Because capitalism created a system where he was no longer useful, and so he was discarded. That's, again, the point of the show. What is it, someone like this, what is it like watching a show when you're someone like this who like misses the, not just the subtext, the text of the show? Like, what is it like watching fiction? I mean, I guess it's like children watch fiction, like when they just watch a thing and they're like, I enjoyed that, I didn't enjoy that. It's just so strange.
Dad with a strange daughter who's recently moved to the U.S. with a new stepdad, you know, that kind of stuff, right? So he goes back to see his mom, and he finds out that during the games, you know, sometime over the last couple days or whatever, she died. Come on.
Yeah. By the way, fun fact, the movie, spoiler alert, the movie Would You Rather, starring Jeffrey Combs, is essentially Squid Game, except it only takes an hour and 40 minutes to watch, right down to it having this exact ending. Except that's where that movie stops. Squid Game is not, you know, is not cliched enough to stop at this point.
I'm home now, Mom. Got some money for us now.
Like, this should have been like an incredibly important moment. You know, like he plays these death games, he survived all everything he went through, and comes home to this. I think this kind of maybe should have been like the end of the show. You know, he's got the...
That's right. He thinks the end of the show, again, they think the end of the show should have been an ironic, but it was all for nothing. Why did I do all of those death money games if I wasn't going to get the thing I wanted? There's another level this show is operating on that you're not seeing. He's like, oh, he's the guy who plays Squid Game because he wants to pay for his mother's surgery and he wants to, you know, give his daughter a better life and be a good father to her, which he's never been able to do because he's a failure. Well, those are aspects of why he played, but again, there's another whole higher level of why Squid Game's happening and why he played.
This card now with his new bank account with his dead mom sitting there showing how like he won the game and he got all the money he could ever want, but then in the process, he lost the most important thing, like the reason he was doing it in the first place. He finally has...
No. In playing the game, he didn't lose the things that mattered to him. She was dying from her diabetes either way. If he hadn't played the game, yeah, he would have been there when she died, but the game didn't make him lose her.
Has more money than he could ever spend, but he never got to help or even say goodbye to his mom. I think this would have been a really symbolic, just emotional gut punch of an ending that would have worked quite well. But then we get like the actual ending, which I mean, the whole time I was watching, I'm just like. So long story short, he gets invited to go meet the guy in charge of the Squid Games, or like whatever they're actually called. And surprise, it's the old guy.
They're called Squid Game. It's fine.
Pour some water in there.
Yep, turns out he's the billionaire dude running the whole thing, and he wanted to play the games one last time before his brain tumor, you know, did brain tumor stuff. And then
Yeah, okay.
he gives this explanation about why he did all this stuff.
Why did you do something like this? Do you know what someone who doesn't have any money has in common with someone with too much money? Living is no fun for either of them. If you have too much money, then it doesn't matter what you buy or eat or drink or whatever. It all gets boring.
What? So like basically, we're supposed
Wait, he does not
to
understand.
take away from this is like how being mega rich is not really so different than being poor, you know, because like life's boring, my dude. And
It's true. Like, that's true. Okay, I'm not gonna go and get the medical thing here. Basically, hedonic, anyway, it comes from hedonism. The brain reacts to new and pleasurable experiences a certain way. But every time you then do that experience, right, you react to it less. Like, the brain releases fewer chemicals that makes you less happy. And the funny thing is, being able to do whatever you want is an experience that your brain responds to. It's like, I have the freedom to do whatever I want. But once you've done a few I do whatever I want things a few times, then the experience of doing whatever you want itself starts to get boring. You don't get an emotional reaction for it. And when you've lived, as Onam has at this point in his life, for 40 years as the richest man in Korea, there's no joy in anything. The only joy comes from connection with other people, which he abandoned in the pursuit of money. That's what he's saying, Alex.
That's what we're supposed to take away from the show? No. Okay, the real moral of Squid Game is old people suck at using money.
Okay, yeah, so this is just a dumb video. There's no second meaning here. He just is very, very missed the point.
It's like this old dude's just sitting there in his diapers or whatever, you know, and one day he's like, I have too much money. Should I A, help feed starving children, B, finance animal shelters, or C, buy another boat?
Wow.
A trick question, the answer is D, watch poor people play double dare. You know, when you get right down to it, like, Squid Game is really just...
Okay, so I'm just going to go back to his 3 joke answers. Help starving children. What's in it for him?
Help feed starving children, B, finance
What's in it for him?
animal shelters, or C, buy...
He's already got another boat. You see, that's the point. He is a capitalist. His entire life has been spent only looking out for himself. He doesn't know how to want anything else. The idea of charity is offensive to him because it is offensive to all capitalists. And you're like, don't capitalists give a lot to charity? No, they don't. There's a long conversation about it. But your average billionaire in a year gives a tiny fraction. Okay, so you can say, well, he gave away $100 million. Okay. Sorry, Jeff Bezos. Although I don't know that Jeff Bezos did give away $100 million a lot of times. But the point is, let's say Jeff Bezos gave away $100 million. Now, that is a smaller portion. So he has $200 billion. So if he gives away $100 million, that is not even 0.01% of his money. Am I doing the math right here? $200 billion. So you take 3 zeros off of that. So you're at 0, not even a percent. You're at 0.1. So it's 0.05% of his money. The average person in a year, like, gives away, over their life, will give away far, far more than 0.5% of their money to charity. Rich people are some of the least charitable people in the world. What they have is not, charities. Their success is not in charities, but having giant PR organizations designed to make them seem like they're charitable. But they're not. I mean, Bill Gates is the worst, but that's for this. He's a complete loathsome monster, but that's a whole other conversation we get into. I haven't actually looked into Jeff Bezos's charity giving, but that's just because I find him loathsome as a person, but I have listened to a bunch of podcasts and read a couple of books about Bill Gates, and the man is trash in every way. I mean, Bezos is awful too. I just haven't done the reading, All right. So the point is, there's nothing in it for him to help starving children. Like, he doesn't feel good when he helps people because he has isolated himself completely from humanity. So none of these things would bring him pleasure, so why would he do it? And Alex Meyers seems to be, like, coming from this weird place where, well, if you want to get satisfaction in life, do these things and be kind to people. Except that's the opposite of capitalism, which is what the show's about.
Another boat. Trick question, the answer is D, watch poor people play double dare. You know, when you get right down to it, like, Squid Game is really just Lord of the Flies meets every 90s Nickelodeon game show.
It's not really Lord of the Flies? I mean, it's a bit Lord of the Flies. It's not a terrible comparison because Lord of the Flies is about people who are basically a bunch of boys gets lost on an island. There was like some sailing trip as part of, I don't even remember. I read it for school. So part of it was like a school trip or like they were naval cadets or something. But the point is they end up lost on an island and they try to rebuild adult society exactly as it was. But without, like, laws and cops around, it becomes a brutal dictatorship, just as normal British society was. It's a commentary on the corruptness of British society because it shows people building British society in, like, a couple of weeks in isolation out of nothing. And by the way, every time people have shipwrecked on an island, it didn't go as badly for them as Lord of the Flies, because Lord of the Flies isn't meant to be how people behave. It's about a commentary on the awfulness of British society. All right, let's go.
Let me welcome you all to the fifth game. The fifth game is glass stepping stones. The stepping stones before you are made from one of two types of glass. One will be tempered glass, and the other will be normal glass.
But like, come on, Mr. Richman, like, you couldn't have even just done the Squid Games, but with like cute little dogs, you know? And then,
Wow.
like, the one dog who wins, he gets to play in the ball pit, and the dogs who lose also get to play in the ball pit, because all dogs are winners. Really, though, in a way, I guess.
So just to be clear, he needs people to die because because again, these people are bored and they need to shock themselves to find any entertainment. It's the idle rich becoming worse and worse and worse as time goes on. But B, it needs to be people because the Squid Game is designed to prove that capitalism works, that someone can rise to the top. That's why every single game in Squid Game is a metaphor for the stage of capitalism. I did a whole video about this. I'm not going to do it again here, but I did a video about how every one of the Squid Game games is a message about how capitalism worked. Onam, player 001, went from having nothing, you know, well, not nothing, but growing up super poor, to being the richest man in Korea, and he did it by completely abandoning his humanity. And what he does is he makes a game to take people through those steps, to abandon their humanity to become rich, to know what it's like to be a rich guy who has isolated them completely from society. And 456 doesn't play. He doesn't see the value of capitalism. At the same time, we have in the game the front man, who we find out won the Squid Game 5 years ago and was completely absorbed into the world of Squid Game. Right? So he believes it. He is all on board with capitalism, except in the last moment he can't, like, make capitalism turn on it, let capitalism make himself turn on his brother, so there's a whole complicated thing there.
It's kind of good that the whole thing was run by this dude who's like 170. His favorite games were like red light, green light, and marbles or whatever.
You know, when I was a kid, I lived in a neighborhood just like this.
So did I. And you know something? Our alleyway looked very similar.
Because like if someone my age was in charge of this thing, I would have just been like, okay, first physical challenge, you gotta find the flag of the giant nose, and then you gotta run on the one-ton hamster wheel, and then if you can put the silver monkey statue together correctly,
So now he's just making jokes about a show I've never seen, so.
you win this cool Garfield phone and a lifetime supply of High School Musical DVDs. But then behind the scenes, I'm actually just harvesting the mystical powers of Mark Summers' mullet. Because I mean, look at this shit. Look at this majestic beauty. I mean, you just swap my face and but jokes aside, the whole ending explanation.
If I knew who that was, I'm sure that would be funny. Because you see, he said,
Just harvesting the mystical powers of Mark Summers' mullet.
but he didn't show a picture that shows off the mullet? Also, that's not what a mullet is. People misuse the term. Business in the front, party in the back. But the true mullet, or hockey hair, as Canadians called it, is like a buzz cut on top, and then flowing hair in the back. You may recognize this as kind of what Billy Ray Cyrus looked like in the 90s, except no one remembers that, because they're not as old as I am.
Because I mean, look at this shit. Look at this majestic beauty. I mean, you just swap my face and but jokes aside, the whole ending explanation of the show is so stupid. He's like, I'll bet you anything, no one's gonna help that homeless guy on the street, just like no one's gonna help me right now. Quick, tell me how to open a PDF. Rosebud. Well, actually, Alex, I can bother how in the end, money doesn't really matter and doesn't make you happy because you should struggle for things you earn them and then you appreciate them more. How is that so? Well, watch this.
No, that's not what it's about. Wow. It's weird. It's weird that, like, even... And this is why I'm starting to think that Alex Meyers here completely didn't understand the show, because even his pedantic straw man didn't understand the show. The message of the show is not that money will make you happy, The struggle you go through to get money is what you're supposed to find satisfaction in. I'm gonna let him finish the thing so he doesn't undercut me, but then I'll go back and explain this.
Just go tell it to everybody watching this who doesn't have any money, okay? Let's see how they feel about that. But yeah, so...
Nope. No, that's not the message.
Guy on the street, just like no one's gonna help me right now. Quick, tell me how to open a PDF. Rosebud. Well, actually, Alex, I can bother how in the end, money doesn't really matter and doesn't make you happy because you should struggle for things you earn them and then you appreciate them more. How is that so?
So, no, the show is not about how struggling for things makes you appreciate them more. At all. It's not that he hasn't... Because, again, Onam cheats at the games. He doesn't actually play. He wants the experience of doing it, but he's just a tourist, okay? Let me explain this clearly. The message of the show is that it's the human connections that matter, not money and chasing it. And it's like, Alex Meyers seems to be saying here that if 456 isn't happy with all the money he has, because he didn't earn that money. What Alex Meyers has somehow adopted is basically capitalist propaganda, that there is some inherent value in work, and that work makes you better as a person. Now, this is the Calvinist worldview, and I'm not going to go into who John Calvin is, but suffice to say, he was a religious philosopher who had a lot of bad ideas about how the world should work, and it has corrupted the American mindset at its core. And that's why, first toil, then the grave, is the old joke. Basically, there's this thing called TULIP that explains, you count on your fingers, TULIP, to explain the thing. Maybe I'll put the scene from Hardcore. There's a movie called Hardcore that actually explains Calvinism really well at the end of this video, to show you what I'm talking about. But basically, in order to explain why God would make a world where people worked endlessly and suffered, Calvin came up with the concept that the work and the suffering itself was godly, that it was what you were supposed to do in life. That was all the value supposed to be. The value of your life was how hard you worked. And that's not true, and that's not how human minds work. But he was trying to reverse engineer a justification for people's awful lives by going to the Bible. And he didn't do a great job, but it still worked. And Alex Meyers here, despite the fact that, I'm just going to guess he doesn't know a lot about Calvinism, is basically reciting hundreds of years old talking points of a religious fanatic that in many ways became the basis for the American capitalist mindset. So the problem is not that people are getting money without working for it, and that makes them feel unhappiness in life. It's that the pursuit of money itself leaves you unhappy in life. There is a game. It is called Capitalism. Squid Game is a microcosm of it. Playing the game will never make you happy, because Onam isn't happy. And you can say the VIPs are happy. Maybe they are, but maybe they're all performing. We don't know what their lives are like. They certainly look forward their whole year to the one thing where they can really cut loose. Well, that doesn't make it seem like the rest of their lives are very good if the only time they're really happy is when they're sitting on human furniture and sexually assaulting people. Like, here's the one time a year where I really get to enjoy myself. So the one weekend where you get to brutalize poor people is the one weekend where you're really enjoying yourself? Your life sucks, dude. I don't care how many private jets you have. All right.
So, but why don't you just go tell it to everybody watching this who doesn't have any money, okay? Let's see how they feel about that. But yeah, so it turns out the whole Squid Game thing was just some old dude who's bored because he's too rich and he couldn't think of any other way to use his wealth.
It's not that he couldn't think of any other way to use his wealth, Alex. I'm gonna de-anger myself like 20%. It's not that he couldn't think of any other way to use his wealth. It's that his life is ending and he's trying to justify the way he lived it to himself. He has no friends. He has no family. All he has are his things that don't make him happy. But if he can prove that capitalism is worthwhile and anyone would do the thing he did, well then, he didn't make mistakes. His whole life wasn't wasted. And that's why he's so frustrated by 456's refusal to participate. By 456's refusal to spend the money to improve his life. Because if 456 doesn't do it, then maybe it wasn't worth doing. Maybe none of this was worth it. Maybe his whole life was a waste. And he's trying to say, look, I was right to have contempt for people. People are going to let an old, humanity is so depraved, total depravity being the tea and tulip, is so depraved that a man is going to freeze to death right there, and anyone could stop it, and no one will. So obviously, I was right to exploit and to grind people into dust and destroy people's lives and, let's face it, cause a lot of deaths. Because suicide from debt is an incredibly popular cause or trigger for suicide. And he wants to say to himself, humanity's screwed anyway, so what does it matter? All right. So no, it's not that he can't think of a way to better spend his money. It's because he wants to prove that capitalism works and is worth it.
Nothing else came to mind besides watching the poor steal each other for money. Just rich people things. Old people suck. Now this part's not really important to the show, like really. I mean, you could have cut almost all of this out and it would have changed basically nothing, but it's there.
No, it's important for all the reasons I just said.
It's prominent, and I gotta say, these dudes right here almost ruined the entire show for me. I mean, it's unwatchably cringy. Like, every time any one of them opens their mouth. Like, this whole part is so bad. It feels like a Lele Pond skit.
What's that thing?
Looks like a bridge of some sort.
What convinced you to bet so much on number 69?
Oh, it's such a beautiful number, 69. Just tell us about the next game. How long you gonna string us along like this?
He's in a bad mood because of 69. Better tell him quickly.
Who are you getting on this high?
96.
What you reading?
Well, if I can't do 69, I'll try 96.
Freaking shut up! I'm actually kind of impressed in a way, just how like the casting director was able to find this many old white dudes in South Korea who are all just like, if jerking off to Wayne's World was a person. And like, I get that's supposed to give us all this lore about who's behind the games, and like, oh, this is how.
Wayne's World? Wait. Oh, because of the 69 thing. Okay.
Was able to find this many old white dudes in South Korea who are all just like, if jerking off to Wayne's World was a person.
It's weird.
I'm actually kind of impressed in a way, just how like the casting director was able to find this many old white dudes in South Korea who are all just like, if jerking off to Wayne.
Was that an accident? Anyway, it's weird that like the rules of YouTube are, he just showed 2 topless women on his video and he didn't blur them at all. I guess if you paint nipples, it's fine. Okay.
World was a person. And like, I get that's supposed to give us all this lore.
Oh my god. All right, so people say that the VIP scene is hard to watch because they're bad actors and they're overly broad and they're contemptible and they're children. That's the point? It's fun because I read an interview with one of the VIP actors and he's like, yeah, I could have acted better. I was told not to. That's the point. These people, all of the other characters are putting in naturalistic performances because they're still human. All of the VIPs are people who've removed themselves from humanity. They're supposed to look like alien monsters to us because we look like dirt to them. So, let's say you're an ant. What does the thing that comes and step on you look like to you? A bizarre monster you can't possibly understand. That's what the VIPs are. They are horrible creatures who exploit us for their pleasures and crush us underfoot because they're bored. They are the children pulling the wings off of flies and watching them flop around until they die. Okay? And because they're rich, they've never had to emotionally mature. They talk and act and think. They talk and act like children because emotionally they are children. Like, imagine a world where you, as a child, never had any consequence. But like, you were a child, so you got to do whatever you want, but with no boundaries, and no one ever told you to stop. And whenever something bad happened, somebody else fixed it for you. That's the world these characters live in. They live in a consequence-free environment, and it has turned them into monsters. Again, to us. Now, this is all heightened, obviously, but it's not that far from how these people actually are. There's a wonderful, I'm trying to remember the name of the documentary. Anyway, this rich guy, like, it was called like Born Wealthy or something like that, or Born Rich. This guy made a documentary about him and all of his rich kid friends, all of the people who were born into families with unfathomable amounts of money. And spoiler alert, they ain't classy and they ain't smart, you know? Like, they're not smart, they're not classy, they have no taste, they have no depth, they have no interesting things to say or do. They are just giant children. For example, Donald Trump Jr. But it's like, they're just giant children. Most of these born wealthy people. The VIPs are like this for the metaphorical point they're making, and honestly, Rich people are closer to this than you want to believe.
Or about who's behind the games and like, oh, this is how rich people spend their time.
I am dying to know what this next game is. Give us a hint, will you?
As much as I'd like to, sir. I need to ruin the fun for everyone. The games this edition have been amazing.
Right, the contest in Korea was the best.
Oh my goodness. Even just watching it back now is causing me physical pain. Why is any of this here? You could have just had them sitting in a room quietly.
It's here for all the reasons I just said, Alex, and it makes me sad that you don't know that.
The contest in Korea was the best.
Oh my goodness. Even just watching it back now is causing me physical pain. Why is any of this here? You could have just had them sitting in a room quietly, not saying a single gosh.
What are all these beeps? Like, is this something in a YouTube channel that I'm supposed to know about? Am I supposed to be putting in these beeps? Are they for the visually impaired? To tell you when an animation
oh my
is
goodness.
starting?
Even just watching it back now is causing me physical pain. Why is any of this here? You could have just had them sitting in a room quietly, not saying a single gosh darn word, especially you over there. And we still have gotten the same idea about how like back now is causing me physical pain. Why is any of this here? You could have just had them sitting in a room quietly, not...
Well, it did beep when the animation started. So is this a visually impaired thing? When that you hear that beep, like that's where the narrator comes in to tell you what the visual is on screen? Anyway, I'm gonna stop obsessing over this. The weird tinny beeps that happen sometimes in his video, while they are incredibly distracting to me, are probably not that important. Although it makes me wonder if he put the beeps in, they put the beeps in when like editing? Like this is where the thing goes? And then they just got left in, but I'm not going to assume that. I'm going to assume they have meaning.
Saying a single gosh darn word, especially you over there. And we still have gotten the same idea about how like the games are bigger than just South Korea. You know, like it's a global phenomenon or whatever. You know, rich people everywhere. Just round up poor people, watch them play with Yu-Gi-Oh cards and skip it.
The point of the scene, like he see, why do I keep doing he? This is a bad practice I got to get into. Alex seems to think that that scene is about establishing lore. But again, it's about showing us that capitalism is corrupt and rich people are the same no matter where they live. This is not a South Korean phenomenon. Capitalism isn't just bad in South Korea. It is a worldwide enterprise. There's no border for the ultra wealthy. I mean, okay, they probably can't go to Turkey, and if you go to Russia, they're just going to steal all your money, but pretty much there are no borders for the ultra wealthy. And the ultra wealthy, and this is another key part of the thing, the reason why they're mostly from different countries, like there's 2 Americans, but they're mostly from different countries, maybe 3? I'd have to rewatch. The reason they're all from different countries is to make the point, not that it's an evil conspiracy and the whole world is playing Squid Game. The point is to show that the system of capitalism, this corrupt system that grinds everyone under its boot, is everywhere. And no matter what country the rich people are from, they're all exactly the same. Because they all come from the same place of assuming that other people are just fodder to be consumed in their own search for and maintaining of their wealth.
Just to reiterate myself here, I like Squid Game well enough. Okay, like, I'm gonna get what it took off the way it did, and everything the show was building towards turned out to be... Just to reiterate myself here, I like Squid Game well enough. Okay, like, I'm gonna get what it took off the way it did, and...
So here's the question, and this is what I want to know. If I could ask Alex Meyers, right? If I could ask Alex Meyers one question, it would be, why did you like Squid Game? Because you missed the point entirely. Like, every single part of this, you didn't understand any part of this entire show you watched. So you say you liked it just fine, and my question is, why? What about it did you like? Did you just like the fact that it was impeccably filmed action? That it was thrilling? Like, that the actual scenes of the competitions were so gorgeously staged that it's like, you can't help but fall in love with the presentation of each individual game? That wonderful bit where they cut, they cut the whole second half of Red Light, Green Light to frontman sitting in his chair enjoying a whiskey while music plays, and the automaton people are singing and playing the music. Because again, people are things. Get it? People are things that exist for his amusement. Get it? No, you didn't get that. You didn't get that part. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop harping on this, but it's like, I honestly don't understand, if you didn't get the point, what you liked about it. And I think it might just be the mechanical thrills of watching it. Like the cinematography, the performances, And I guess that's fine. But if you didn't get anything out of Squid Game, did you watch the show? Also, and I mean, I know the whole show's obvious in its own way. He's a very... I was about to say, it's a very thuddingly obvious show, but I guess it's not, because Alex Meyers understands no part of it. But I was about to say, the thing I looked at was, because I was talking with Sheila, who I did the podcast about Squid Game with, about how Sang-woo here is 218. I pointed at the screen as if you can see me. Is 218, and he's 456, and he's supposed to be halfway. And I'm like, I feel like up until very late in the script, Sang-woo was 226. 228. Because 228 is exactly the midway point between the villain and the hero. And that is what Sang-woo is. Like, he doesn't know how to be good or bad, and he wants to be good, and he keeps being driven to be bad because that's the only way to succeed in capitalism, which is what everyone wants him to do. Like, the biggest tragedy in the show is not when 456, right, goes to, is when it goes back to see his mother and finds that his mother has died. The biggest tragedy of the show is Sang-woo's mother not knowing what happened to her son a year later, and 456 showing up, and she has gone from having a store to working at a stand because her store was lost by Sang-woo's bad investments. And the tragedy of his character is that he is ready to kill himself or kill other people. He starts out ready to kill himself, and he does kill himself, in fact, at the end of the show. But he's ready to kill himself or other people just to, like, succeed in capitalism, because that's what everyone expects him to do. 456 talks about he was the guy who was going to make it out of the poor part of town, and the mother can't stop bragging about her son who went to Seoul University. Was it Seoul University? Not important where he went to school. Where he went to university, he got his finance degree. He's working at a banker. And all of these expectations have been piled onto him to the point where he was ready to take a bunch of sleeping pills and drown himself in a bathtub, or kill his best childhood friend. And he did kill a lot of people. But the tragedy is, like, all that expectation that everyone put on him, that wasn't real. At the end of the day, his mother found out that he screwed up and made a bad investment and lost a lot of people money, and she thinks he's on the run because he would have to go to jail, but she still loves him. And she still would have accepted him. Like, he could have just said, I screwed up this deal, I lost everybody's money, take me to jail. And he would have gone to jail for 2 years, and his mother would have been fine working at a stall, and when he got out, she still would have loved him. But because he threw away human connection in the pursuit of capitalism, he had to die by stabbing himself in the throat in the rain. It's freaking it is tragic, his story. And I don't think Alex Meyers understood any of that. Because again, when I started this video, I thought, oh, okay, well, this is going to be a joke, right? But, I mean, now on the other side of it, and I've spent 4 times as much watching this, talking about this as I did watching it, except I watched it at 2 times speed, so 8 times as much? Oh, what is wrong with me? It just baffles me that someone could not understand it this thoroughly. Like, to miss it this completely and think, oh yeah, I should talk about this show the way I talk about The Kissing Booth 3. I don't know if he's covered The Kissing Booth 3. I feel like I watched a video of his on The Kissing Booth. But, you know, I'm watching these things while I play video games. It's not like I pay really close attention. It's just something to have on in the background so my mind doesn't get too focused on the game and I don't realize time is passing. All right, let's hear his final thoughts. That didn't work for some reason. I switched what program I was clicked on.
Everything the show was building towards turned out to be really freaking dumb, because they just had to do the thing that like every modern show does, where they over-explain things that aren't that deep and then not explain things that actually would have been.
Okay, they're really not that important. What does he think they over-explained that wasn't important? I would love to hear an example of it. And I guess he thinks that the thing they over-explained that wasn't important was that it was worldwide. Like, what does he think the show over-explains?
And everything the show was building towards turned out to be really freaking dumb. Because they just had to do the thing that like every modern show does, where they over-explain things that aren't that deep, and then not explain things that actually would have been interesting. Like, who are these dudes? What's their story? Why are they like totally cool with killing all these people? Like, we know
they're criminals. That's why.
young 20-somethings for the most part, but like, what's going on with all this? And then the very end of the show, when he decides not to go see his daughter, what's their story? Why are they like totally cool with killing all these people? Like, we know they're young 20.
He is desperate to know who these guys are. They're functionaries. They're no different than people who join the army or become private security. They're scumbag criminals who will do anything for money. Like, they are the functionaries of capitalism. Spoiler alert. I don't want to get too, like, scandalous here, Alex. They're cops. That's their role. They're the police, which is the organization that exists to prop up capitalism. So they hire people to kill people. Like, where are you going to find people who are happy to kill people? Well, the army, police organizations, and jails. There. I've figured out where to find these people.
Something for the most part, but like, what's going on with all this? And then the very end of the show, when he decides not to go see his daughter and instead goes back to the Hunger Games to get revenge or whatever.
If you wish to play, please state your name and date of birth.
Sunday, October 31st, 1974. Listen carefully. I want to know who you people are and how you can do these horrible things to people. I'm not a horse.
I'm a real boy. But like, the old guy's dead and the games are just kind of going upon him.
Oh, wow.
So I guess or whatever. So like, who's he getting revenge against? Also, what is
Capitalism. He's getting revenge against capitalism. He wants to expose and break down the system that turns people into horses.
even mad about? Like, he chose to play the game and then leave and then go back again, so...
Because when he left in the episode Hell, he realized there was nothing left on the outside for him because of capitalism. Do you not understand that? He doesn't understand that. I don't know why I keep saying this. I keep expecting if I say this, I'm going to retroactively in the past, Alex Meyers is going to understand what I was saying. But he's obviously missed the entire point of the show.
I don't know, man. I seem like you did most of this yourself. Oh, well, actually, Alex, I mean...
Oh, great. The character that represents me is back. Let's find out what he has to say this time.
Revenge against. Also, what is he even mad about? Like, he chose to play the game and then leave and then go back again. So, like, I don't know, man. It kind of seems like you did most of this to yourself. Oh, well, actually, Alex, I'm supposed to represent how society makes people feel crap, and therefore the characters of the show felt like they had no choice but to go back to the... Okay, all right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Oh, boy.
So, that guy finally said something true, right? That guy finally said something true, and Alex understood, but then Alex shut him down because Alex didn't want to admit that he had been wrong about... Now, see, that's a fascinating way to end this, because right at the end, Alex gets so close to understanding what the show is about, but understanding what the show about would invalidate all of his opinions about the show and the world, so he immediately shuts it down even while the guy's saying something true. Society does trap people. I mean, it's slow death or quick death. But either way, poverty is a death trap. Okay? It just is. Oh, Alex Meyers. I haven't watched a lot of people's Squid Game takes, because, like, I watched Squid Game, and this is true, I watched it all basically in one night. Like, I started watching it because I had been told it's amazing. So I sat down, I started watching it, and got to the end of the first episode, and I'm like, oh my god! And so I watched the next episode, and I watched 1 through 4 the first night. Oh, sorry, no, 1 through 5. Because I got to the end of 4, which at the end of it you get to the tug of war. And I'm like, well, I gotta watch episode 5 now. You know, I guess I'm watching the rest of the show. And then I stopped, and then the next morning I watched the next 4 episodes. I couldn't stop because it's that good. And then I immediately went and did a podcast that was like 2.5 hours of breaking down every detail of Squid Game. And hell, we were so excited. We even missed the fact that, like, everybody dies based on how they acted in the episode Hell, which, I mean, that's just showing off as a writer. Like, what happened to them in Hell demonstrate how they're going to die later in the game for all the main characters. Right down to the old man just walking away, wink, and, 4, 5, 6 not doing anything bad. But yeah, it's fascinating that someone could get so close to understanding the show, then see that understanding the show, would make you question the system in which you live, and then they decide, actually, I'm not going to understand the show. I am making the choice to remain ignorant about this and to miss the point, because too many dominoes fall if I get the point. You're a fascinating figure, Alex Meyers. I didn't know what to make of you at first, but now I realize it's not just that you missed the point, it's that you are choosing to be ignorant about this stuff. And that's way more interesting than if you just didn't get it. You don't want to know. That's amazing. All right, let's go. Boop.
Can't wait to read the comments on this one. Dear Alex Myers, I watched your pathetic video on Squid Game. In the following 87 paragraphs, I will outline why you are wrong about everything you said about the aforementioned Squid Game, because even though the show is really only 2 inches deep, so am I. Part 1, a comprehensive history on South Korea.
Yeah, and so then there was another me at the end of the video, and he thinks that the show is only 2 inches deep. See, and the best part is, and I gotta say, this is a brilliant move, Alex Myers. I will say one thing as we end. You know what? I will subscribe. Here, look, I'm not subscribed to your videos. I never had to, because they just show up on my timeline all the time, because I watch, people talking about movies I haven't seen a lot. But there, I have subscribed to your VIT channel. Done. See? I mean, you can't see it. Well, you know what? I'll just show. There you go. See? Subscribed. Ta-da! Subscribed. All right, so I just subscribed to your channel. And it's interesting, because it really does seem at the end of the day, you didn't get it, right? You didn't get it. But it wasn't that you weren't capable of understanding it. It's that you were choosing not to understand it. And calling Squid Game 2 inches deep is it's like you're being defensive. Like you're saying, it doesn't have anything to say, and why are people saying it? When really, it has a ton to say that you're just afraid to hear. So, I started off of this, assuming I was going to be angry at a dumb guy for not getting the show. But I ended up with, a kind of fascinating narrative of a guy whose self-identity is wrapped up in not understanding a show. And that's kind of amazing to me. So, Alex, you ended up taking me on a hell of a journey. And now I wonder if I can, learn more fascinating things about you by watching your other videos with this kind of critical eye. I'm not going to do that. It would be insane to do a whole series of videos. About your takes on things, unless it was something that I thought you got wrong. Again, from what I've heard when you talked about the kissing booth, I haven't seen the kissing booth, but you seemed on top of things. All of your videos that I love about Riverdale, I can't imagine Riverdale is secretly good. I think you were dead on. So I am changing the title to it's going to be called Alex Myers Squid Game Takes Are Kind of Dumb. So enjoy. I've been the Hidden Object Guru. If you want to see more from me, we do a daily stream between 9 and 11 Eastern. Sometimes Mondays is at 5 instead, because that's my quiz night when we have quiz nights. And then, of course, a weekend stream at noon on Saturday and Sunday. I just did this for an hour. What is wrong with me? Anyway, thank you so much. Anyone who made it through this, I really appreciate that. If you have your own Squid Game takes, pop them in the comment section below the video. We'll see you back here for more stuff. I'll get back to Dark Pictures content, I promise. But until then, au revoir.